many runners on this team. Okay, back again.
Sorry.
It's okay. Anyway, so I'm not too sure. Okay.
It's probably recorded.
It's probably recorded. So let's go over. Okay. Go over from the end of the beginning of the Torah. Starting from the first verse, we say, "You have shown yourself to make known that Hashem." We're talking about the 17 verses. That Hashem is God and there's nothing else except Him. That the ultimate is, when will we see that Hashem is? When are we going to see that Hashem is God? When will this actually happen? It says this will actually happen when Hashem, which will happen in the time to come, with at the time of the giving of Torah, that this will happen, which was at the time of the giving of Torah, will be in the time to come, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, that in the time to come there will be a revelation of godliness as such that it will be seen without any garments. What's it mean? In other words, we're all just going to see Hashem, and your teacher will no longer be concealed, and your eyes will see your teacher. In other words, we're going to see God, and He's going to teach us. Which it's already in the past, there was already the foretaste of this at the giving of Torah, as it is written that you have shown yourself to make known that Hashem is God, and there's nothing except in. There it says, and you've shown yourself literally with physical seeing. And in other words, when it says we saw God at our Sinai, we really saw totally God. We saw Him ourselves. And we may say that with this Alter Rebbe adds an explanation as to how through our actions and service in this time, what we're doing now. Right now we're learning Torah and we're learning about Gula Shlema, and we're learning of these wonderful things that Rebbe says. We accomplish the revelation of godliness as such that it is seen the redemption, and the perfection of this will be that there is only a foretaste at the giving of Torah, will be in the time to come when He takes it from Simchas. So when will this be, Chaim? When will this be finally happening? At the giving of Torah, we saw Hashem. We saw levels of godliness. It says the very, very high level. Everybody saw godliness in Hashem. God saw Hashem. But this is only a foretaste. But now, pretty soon, we're going to see the essence. And as it explains in other places, that what's the most important thing when Mashiach is revealed, that we'll see everything is God.
Even the Misnagdim now, they announced the Mashiach is coming this year. Misnagdim Rabbanim are announcing the Mashiach is coming this year. Did they come up with Misnagdim, bro? Mitzvah, Rosh Hashiva,
but the idea for Mashiach is everything is God.
They just woke up.
Everything's Hashem. You're just living as part of God. That's everything. So another people say, what's going to be when Mashiach comes? Who cares what it's going to be? If everything is God, whatever you're doing is good. And similarly, the verses after it, which in general are an explanation of the unification of godliness that transcends the world with the world, the perfection of which will be in the true and complete redemption. And because Simchas Torah is one of the holidays in the month of Tishrei, which are Olive holidays, and that with Tishrei, every month is called the head of the year. Tishrei is generally known as the head of the year. So each holiday has to do with special forces, special godly revelations that we're going to have the whole year. That which is Olive holiday for the whole year. It is understood that the emphasis on the redemption of Mashiach of Simchas Torah continues afterwards throughout the whole year. So this is what we're learning. We have to understand this, and everything the Rebbe is teaching for us here about the greatness of Mashiach and the greatness of coming of redemption, and it has to tie in, especially with Simchas Torah, is for all the time. And it's very important because if we get into this, we can live Mashiach, and if you live Mashiach, you're happy, and you'll be a much happier person, and it's possible to do because the Rebbe explains how to do it. But you have to want to do it and get into it. And the Rebbe explains in a very clear way. And the special emphasis this year, when the Rebbe said this, was 5752, that the Hebrew letters of which are in the acronym of the Hebrew words, it will surely be a year of wonders in it. Rebbe is saying the year he said this, which includes the first and foremost the wonders of redemption, and especially according to what spoken many times recently, that according to all the signs we are now on the threshold of redemption. This was already 30 years ago, 31 years ago. What is it? 31 years ago? 31. How many years ago was it? 31. Yeah, Bey Gimel. 31 years ago.
31 years. Wow.
And the Rebbe said 31 years ago that everything's done, and we know that everything's even more done now. Okay. The Rebbe says the next money should already come. And from this is number 2. From this is understood that regarding the service of the Jewish people, that it is necessary in Simchas Torah, and it's a continuation of the entire year, especially this year, the service that is permeated with the redemption and Mashiach, meaning that the conduct of a Jew in all aspects of his daily life, that the Rebbe is going to explain about what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to live our lives, Mashiach. And also in the time immediately before the redemption, is similar to the life and the conduct of the Jewish people and in the literal days of Mashiach. In other words, we have to live now Mashiach, because by living now Mashiach, then we bring Mashiach. And we're in times of Mashiach. I mean, most guys, you don't think about it, and we're not into it, man. We don't get into it. But the Rebbe explained.
Every day, every mitzvah that we do, we think about how we
12 of the 14 brachas of Shemona is about Mashiach.
We set reports to our Rebbe. We tell how many times we're fulfilling mitzvahs with the intention of bringing Mashiach.
Okay, well, some of us are lucky to do that, but not everybody does it. And the intention, but the intention is not now and bringing Mashiach. But intention, we're living in Mashiach. That's what the Rebbe says. It's more than bringing Mashiach. That's what he's going to point out here. And this is also the special emphasis recently regarding learning the laws of the time of Mashiach and the laws that are applied to the life of the Jewish people at the time of Mashiach. The Rebbe talks about this. They're very much into learning the last Baruch, and from Rama it talks about the times of Mashiach. The Rebbe explains Mashiach. That's why the Rebbe was the first of all Rebbes, if anybody, who he just lived Mashiach. I mean, he said, why? Somebody once asked the Rebbe, they said, why are you talking about Mashiach all the time? He says, your father didn't do it, your great-grandfather. I mean, every second word by the Rebbe is Mashiach. He smiled, he says, you're right. And he started talking more about Mashiach. Because there's times of Mashiach. And this is what you have to realize. The reason that most of us are here is the revelation of Mashiach. Because that's how we woke up. And when you start to understand how that works, and why so many people are become religious and start turning to God, then you start seeing why we're in times of Mashiach, and then you get excited over it. Okay.
And all the stories that are coming out now.
Yeah, all the stories, like the stories I've told you. I can tell you many more stories.
Stories are good.
So, okay. And one of the main aspects of time to Mashiach, as it brought from the Tanya, is that there will be the perfection that you have shown yourself to make known that Hashem is God and there's nothing else except Him. Throughout the entire world, it will reveal that there is no other existence at all besides Hashem. There's nothing else but God. In other words, just going to be in God. And it must be like this also in the Jewish life. It's very interesting what the Rebbe is going to say here. That he should sense and feel in literally all matters of his life, there's nothing except God. What's it mean? This is even a higher Chaim. This is something that you might even like, Chaim. It's a 2 minute thing. You have to be misgaber, guys, but it's interesting. What does it mean? There's nothing except God. This means that besides the fact that the intention and the purpose, like you said, of everything in the world is godliness, and automatically is service in a manner that all your actions should be for the sake of God. It's an amazing thing the Rebbe says. And in all your ways shall be known Him. However, there is an existence of mundane matters and your actions and your ways. In other words, I'm doing this, I'm eating, I'm driving my car someplace, I'm doing things. All of this I'm doing mundane things, but I'm doing this to bring geula, to bring redemption. I'm doing this to service of God. Only that the purpose is holiness. Rather, the Rebbe says this in a much more thing. Rather more than this, that the world literally themselves, worldly matters are godliness. Everything's Hashem. And automatically there is no feeling of existence at all already from the outset, for there's nothing else except God. That we should be in a way that we're just God. We're just God. We're godly. Everything we do is godly. Whatever we do. I don't know, even all that is godly. Anyways, and we may say, the Rebbe says, that this is a chiddush from the Rebbe, a new thing. That this is the additional innovation of the version in the Mishnah and the Price. I was not created except to serve God. As opposed to the common version, I was created. Ani, it says, Ani nevrasi l'shem sheskoni. It says, Ani l'shem sheskoni. But it's Ani lo nevrasi el l'shem sheskoni. So why does it say that there was one says, well, if you understand, I'm here created to serve God. Why I'm here? Because I'm just here. It's not supposed to serve Shem. But there's another meaning of this that they added to this, is that I wasn't created to serve, except to serve God, that I don't even exist. It says I was the first one. Okay, let's go over it. And we may say that this is additional and an innovation, the version of the Mishnah and the Brisa. It says I was not created except to serve my Creator, as opposed to the common version. I was created to serve my Creator. As I was created. What's it mean? The emphasis is that there is a created existence. I'm created, and only that the whole intention and the purpose of this creation is no more than to serve Hashem. So here I am, Sphira, and my being, God created me to serve God. But he says this is a much higher level. This is the level that we're reaching. It said, but it says, I was not created means that the existence of a person on its own does not exist at all. That I was not created. The only thing there is to serve my Creator. It's very interesting. Like this, right now in Hanukkah, the year Hanukkah, when every 50th year, all the Jews, it's the 8th year, right? Hanukkah is what? The year after Shemitah. Every 8 years, a year after Shemitah, that all the Jews would get together, and all the Kohanim would have these silver trumpets, and they were blowing these silver trumpets, and golden trumpets, and everybody would get together. It's a very special. All the children.
Sing the Hanukkah song.
I'm not. Don't sing it. I'm not good with it.
You started from the middle of the song.
It's amazing. It's amazing. 770. There are thousands and thousands of people. It's amazing. All these young people are coming. And my wife told me that there's all these young Israeli girls, like 16, 17, 18. There's so many of them. And my wife tells me they babysit the whole year just to raise money to buy a ticket. They come here and they get places to sleep and there's food to eat. It's an amazing. I've never yet. And then the Bukhram, it's just filled with young people like under 25.
Dr. Feldman, last year he passed away or something.
Menachem Mendel.
Then his daughter,
You make a bath?
somebody who lives today in Crown Heights. Her name is Holtzman. She's married to one of the Holtzmans, the driver.
Yeah.
And then she came in. I think the idea was it's like you come to this, you don't really have like good places to stay, like very low standards.
Yeah. We're
Dr. Feldman, she had over there like a good. Dr. Feldman has a house, he's a president.
He was my wife's doctor. He's a special guy.
He was also Dr. Lewan.
So anyway, it's amazing you come here and that they have Aknasas Orchim, this place where they all eat. They have thousands of people come from all over. It's an amazing thing. Never saw anything like it in the world. It's so much kindness and chesed, and you go and there's so much people and they're so crowded, but people are happy with one another. If you were crowded like this, people are getting mad and in fights, and you see such an achdus. So, but the last time the Rebbe spoke was Parshas Vayakel, which is also the idea of gathering together. So why am I bringing that up? Because Chaim, what did the Rebbe say in Parshas Vayakel, the final cycle the Rebbe said? No, he's talking about over there about it has to do with Vayakel. Generally, the end of the Parsha of Shemos, Exodus, we generally learn two Parshas, Vayakel, Bekude. Vayakel has to do with all the Jews getting together as one, and Bekude has to do with each created being has its special way of service of God. So it says that since the year that since we said Vayakel, that included everything, and the Rebbe talks about this concept of a very interesting thing. He says it was also Parshas Shkalim. So Parshas Shkalim has to do with Vayakel, has to do with the unity of all the Jewish people. So how we have this special unity? It says because when you see that you have one divine soul and you're all part of God, so that brings you together. You look at the spirituality, the source of everybody. And then the Rebbe said, but how do you? And it also says, and when it talks about when we would donate to once a year we would donate, and we'd bring these communal sacrifices, and we would donate once a year. It says in the Torah, it says they would give 10 gera, and it says there were 20 gera to a holy shekel. So the whole question is, why do they say 10 gera and 20 gera? Because it explains that each one of us, that each one of us has 10 powers of the soul. That means you too. All you guys have 10 powers of the soul. All of us, we have 10 powers of the soul, right? So it says, how do you combine with another Jew? If your 10 powers of your soul is tied into the 10 powers of another Jew, that's a unity. That's why it's called. That's why we need a whole shekel. We need a whole holy coin. So how do you tie in to be one with another Jew? This is an amazing thing. This is what we're talking about. Why I'm bringing this up is exactly what we're talking about here. It says over there that when a person, how do you become mamish? How do we become one with one another? Chaim, how do we Chaim Pio? How do we become one with another, with each other?
You give tzedakah or you study together.
This is dying on me. So how do we? How do we?
I don't know what his question is.
The question was, how do we become one with one another? He said, you come one when you come. The Rebbe says, you come one with the other when you become one with God. And he said, God reveals, when God reveals himself, the 10 powers, he reveals himself as the spheres, 10 ways God reveals himself, and we have the 10 power of the soul, so that's the level of 20, so therefore we become one. So the question is, how can you become one? The Rebbe says it's very easy that we're one with God. How does it say? Because when a Jew when we wake up in the morning, we say, Moda ani lefanecha melech chai b'kayam. So we don't say, I was created and I'm serving God. We don't say, I'm giving thanks to God. He says, Moda ani. He says, Moda ani means that I'm automatically, when I wake up, I don't even exist. My whole existence is serving Hashem. This is the last sikha the Rebbe gave, they reviewed. The last sikha before, and it has to do with Vayaka. So it says a very amazing thing over here, which is something that was mind-blowing to me. He says, so what happens, the Rambam says, what happens to people who don't realize that they're one with God, and their whole being is just one with God, and they're asleep. What do you mean they're asleep? They're not waking up. They're asleep in the vanities of the world. The Rambam says. So how do you wake, the Rebbe says, how do you wake them up? This is an amazing thing. The Rebbe says, this is how to do it. You just explain to them how their essence of their soul, the essence of the Shama is tied in with the essence of God. And that once you explain this to them, automatically it wakes them up. So I'm trying to explain to everybody here that our essence of our soul is tied in the essence of God. So that's the idea what it says, Alin lo nivresi, that I was not created only to serve God. And this is like the last sikh of the Rebbe said. That's what we're talking about here.
What's the difference if you tell them that there is a God's spark inside of them?
That's not the Rebbe's talking about here. No, he's not talking. That's not the Lashon at all.
Okay.
That's not the Lashon. According to this, perhaps we may say the explanation of the shocking delay of the redemption. Rebbe says, why aren't we complete redemption? That is because the Jewish people lack the perfection, the level of service and matter. I was not created except to serve my Creator. That we lack this idea when we wake up in the morning, we're just automatically we're just God's servant. We don't exist. Which specifically through this is we will reach the redemption that will be in this way, as in such a way it says that there's nothing except Hashem. However, now the Rebbe says an amazing thing. However, now this obstacle has already been removed as well, and automatically everything is prepared for the feast of the biyasim, which means the big fish and the wild ox and the guarded wine, and a true and complete redemption. Literally, immediately. The Rebbe says we're already reached this level. We're already in a level where everything is Hashem. Now the Rebbe is going to talk about how this especially has to do with the Jewish children. Like today, I was walking home, and they have they have on the street here, they have a big party, Simchas Beis Sheva, and earlier they have a party for all the children, and you have these kids running around. They have these lights, flickering lights, and there's a stand, the guy with the big puppet. It's an amazing thing. But the Rebbe is very much talking about the children. So when you look at the children, you can see Mashiach. Children has like a special pure light. So that's what he's talking about. The above has special connection to the Jewish children that study by their rabbis. Then the students studying Torah, as the saying says, do not touch Mashiach. It says, don't touch my anointed ones. These are the children that study by their rabbis, because they're pure. They have no sin. They're just studying. They're very pure. You ever see some of these kids and they're just into God? I mean, it's amazing. There's pure. The ones who are they're studying godliness and they're living with Hashem, and they're not in the craziness of the world. They're like these angels walking around. They're so pure and beautiful. Which is one of the explanations of this, is in addition to the explanation in the commentaries, that the education of the children that study by their rabbis must be in a way that the children become completely permeated through and such with the concept and the point of Mashiach, such that when people see at a glance a Jewish child, what do they see? They say Mashiach. That the entire existence is Mashiach, their entire existence. That the revelation that you have shown yourself, there's nothing else except, and the Rebbe is saying that you can see this in children who are learning God's holy Torah and studying just pure with Hashem. And we may also connect this with the fact that in Simchas Torah, which is especially connected to Mashiach as mentioned above, we find an emphasis in the Jewish customs that also the children that study by their rabbis celebrate and dance with the Torah. And through their great joy and Simchas Torah, it is revealed even more how much are they the Mashiach, they're the anointed ones. And even much more so, because the main rejoice, now Rebbe is going to talk about, generally, when a person can think, when you're learning Torah, so you understand something, you're being in yourself, but the whole Simchas Torah is that we're dancing with the Torah, that there's no knowledge, it's just our whole being is dancing. Even more so that because the main rejoicing of Simchas Torah is not through the learning of Torah, rather specifically the dancing with the Torah, dancing with Torah scrolls, as they're covered with Torah cover and crowned with the Torah crown, when it's not even possible to learn from them. It is understood that then the main emphasis is on the connection with the Torah to all the Jewish people, from the great to the small, and the smallest, literally equally. And we may say the Rebbe is mechadish here, that say that this is also connected to the special connection, the revelation of Mashiach on Simchas Torah. For about the days of Mashiach, it says that people no longer will teach each other. People will no longer teach each other, for everyone will know me, and from the smallest to the greatest, and that we're going to learn directly from God. God is just going to reveal His greatness to us, and we're just going to be there with Hashem. And therefore, the contact on Simchas Torah is also similar to and a foretaste of this. Say a story. It was a story.
Can't hear a word.
I think riddling, huh?
Can't hear a word he said. I'm looking at your eyes. You didn't hear a word he said.
So,
What are you thinking about?
Want me to repeat the entire thing word for word?
Yes.
Were you actually listening?
After the shim.
You actually listening? You listening to every word you say?
I just listened to we'll just play it back.
anyways, I'd like to say, I'm trying to think of a good story to say. But there's something interesting. I mean, telling how's viewing something like Mashiach. The Rebbe was. I remember I recently saw a Sikha where the Rebbe says, "Shavisa Hashem Kanegdi Tami," that Hashem is always standing in front of me. So the Rebbe is talking about there that when you're davening and stuff, you shouldn't look around and see what this guy does and that guy does. You realize Hashem is standing in front of you. So I started thinking, wow, Hashem's standing in front of me and He's listening to me. So I started being happy.
That's one of the reasons why the Rebbe didn't daven with, that's why the Rebbe didn't daven in 770 with the minyan.
Why?
Because people were looking at the Rebbe. That's one of the reasons, if I'm not mistaken.
The later years the Rebbe always done with the minyan.
Yeah, but I'm saying the earlier years.
But later years the Rebbe also done, because the Rebbe was revealed Mashiach.
I'm saying the earlier years the Rebbe didn't daven with the minyan.
But was that the reason? I don't know.
could be one of the reasons.
I don't know.
I know the Rebbe talked about it.
But what I started realizing is when I'm davening, when I think about it, is wow, Hashem's looking and standing in front of me, and I'm talking to Hashem and davening, and He loves it. So He puts a smile on my face. I start doing it better. So I mean, that's the way of viewing my geula, the geula redemption way. Redemption way is looking at the positive. It's taking it out and seeing how everything's positive. And for me, when I do that, it puts a smile on my face, and I sing and I daven better. If I'm praying for my family or anybody, I pray better because God's sitting there in front of me. There's actually a joke. This guy was this guy switched yeshivas, and so one of the brachim from the prior yeshiva came to him and said, "Why'd you switch yeshivas?" He says, "Because my yeshiva, they teach me how to read minds." Because they teach how to read minds. So what am I thinking? He said, Shavi says Shem Kenegdi Tommy. The guy says, no, I'm not. He says, I know. That's why I don't go to yeshiva. Anyways, but I'll tell a story. We're talking about how God lightens up. This is a very one of my favorite stories. That God just picks us up and takes us someplace, and we're just kind of lost in the world. And all of a sudden, this is Mashiach's time. This is the blowing of the great shofar, which the Rebbe blow. This is a person from Portland, Oregon. Right now, he lives in Sfas. So I said, "How'd you become religious?" So the guy, by the way, he used to sell batteries, big battery to stores, auto parts stores. That's not okay so much. So he says he went to a Reformed and then conservative synagogue, and after Gimel Tammuz, they were having a big gathering in one of the hotels in honor of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. So the conservative rabbi, which was also very unusual, made an announcement. We had the honor of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. We're having a gathering. You're talking Portland, Oregon, which is also very leftist. So all of a sudden he says his voice comes to him, and he says, a voice comes to me and says, you have to go. And then he tells him, I don't want to go, you have to go. I don't want to go, you have to go. Okay, I'm going to go. So I asked whether he had voices before or after. No, I mean, I talked to his rabbi later. He's a normal guy. So he went to the meeting, and they had some very nice words about the Rebbe. And at the end of the meeting, they passed out a strip of paper, and on this strip of paper, they had on the strip of paper 10 mitzvahs, 10 good acts to do, and he looked at it, and they said, on the Rebbe, and he's supposed to mark up what you're going to do. He's looking at this list, he says, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. So this is like, and this is how eventually from that he became religious.
Oh, wow.
There's just many stories. I met another guy who said, how'd you become religious? He says, I realized I was made in the image of God. There's another lady I asked her, I said, how'd you become religious? She was she's from LA. She was in Boston in school. And one day she woke up and she said, I have a soul. What am I doing for my soul? She's starting to think, what am I doing for my soul? So she started searching. That's how she became religious. Everybody has. I have so many different stories. So, all of this is showing that we're times of Mashiach. All of these special stories. I knew somebody very well. She had a very amazing spiritual experience. That she was sitting on the couch one day. I know the person very well, very honest, sweet person. And she went up above, and there was a white curtain, and they said behind the white curtain, what should we do with so-and-so? And she said, you should give him another chance. And 2 days later, this guy comes to her. This guy was something, he done mean things to her. This guy came to her, and he said, you know what happened? I was driving down the freeway in my motorcycle, and I went flying in the air. And when I came down, I lived. I mean, just different types of experience. But to happen, I find when I talk to people have amazing experiences. This is one of the things that showed we're in times of Mashiach. There were special times. It's just regular people just having these experiences, because in essence, we have our souls very special. Okay. So where were we holding? Okay, we're on number 5. Let's see how far. Oh, we're almost done anyways. Okay. And since then we're on number 5. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay. So we said we may say that Simchas Torah. We said that Hashem's going to teach us, and this is especially emphasized in the children that study by the rabbis of our generation, who are called with the name, the agreement of the great rabbis are named Tzvos Hashem, the army of Hashem. The names of those Hashem, the army of Hashem, denotes that the children are completely dedicated and submitted to Hashem. Similarly, and more than soldiers, they're totally given over. Their children are more given over to Hashem, and you see some of these children are amazing. They just want to do what Hashem wants them to do. They're totally given more than soldiers are given over to generals. To the extent of the wording of the verse, when the Jews, when we left Egypt, it says Hashem took out the Jewish people from the land of Egypt, all, which means over their army, even higher than the limitation of an army, took us out. And from this is understood that the Jewish people, boys and girls of our generation, is recognized that even in the more revealed way, how they're Mashiachai, they're my anointed ones of Hashem Himself. And this becomes a close preparation and introduction to the revelation of the collective Mashiach, literally the anointed ones of all the Jewish people in the true and complete redemption. The Rebbe says this is special, that Jewish children are mamish bringing Mashiach. They're totally given over. And as in the days when you left Egypt, I will show you wonders. Just as then when all the armies, the legion of Hashem, all the Jewish people left the land of Egypt, so too the army of Hashem of our generation will lead this exile into a true, complete redemption, literally immediately, including and especially the Jewish children who are present now here, who were educated in the past year, and certainly they will continue though in the way that when you're glancing at them, one sees Mashiach. And especially when these children dance at the Hakaf, Shemini Atzeres, and Simchas Torah. 5. And since this is so, and in order to hasten the redemption more, that it should come out as soon as possible, to the extent of literally Mashiach should come right now, it is fitting that all the children that study by their rabbis, who are now here, the Rebbe is talking with the convention of children, should say together with and each one of them and all of them together, L'chaim. And also the educators, L'chaim, L'chaim. And also the educators and teachers and the principals of Simchas Hashem should participate in this by singing together with Hashem a song that is connected to Hashem, as in the custom of the world that an army has an anthem march, their own song, and we must do so, and we must do what it says when you go to the city and go on its ways. And certainly the entire congregation will assist in this, and we will consider it as a privilege for them, since that through the children they also receive the title which the children are called Mashiachim. Now, if you are children, we receive this level, we're the anointed ones. And for this we draw afterwards strength for the service throughout the entire year, as mentioned above from Simchas Torah, is drawn through the entire year, especially regarding the shluchim, the emissaries of the leaders of our generation, my revered father-in-law, whose special service and shlichus mission is spreading Torah and Yiddishkeit and spreading the wellsprings outward, and also especially the service and shlichus to bring Mashiach, literally and actually including through placing special emphasis on the education of Jewish children who are called Mashiachai, my appointed ones. And that's also may be the will of Hashem that every single Jew and Jewish, and the Jewish people as a whole, including the Jewish children, will celebrate Hakafas at Simchas Torah together with Hashem Himself, as the saying of our sages. In the future, Hashem will make a dance for the tzaddikim, and each and every one will point with his finger and will say, "Behold, this is our God. We hope for Him, and He will save us. This is Hashem, who we hope for, and we will rejoice and be happy in His salvation," and literally immediately. Yechia Adonenu Malveinu Malchus, we should mamishly right away. Let's bring a little.
First start a nigga first.
Start a nigga, no? I should put this on. Ay 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 ay. Ah yeah 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 ah yeah 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 ah yeah yeah ah yeah 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 ah. I hope we didn't pull it out. Ah yeah 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 ah yeah yeah ah yeah yeah. Ah yeah 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 ah yeah 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 ah yeah yeah ah yeah 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 ah yeah yeah ah yeah yeah ah yeah yeah ah yeah 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 ah yeah yeah ah yeah. This is going to be on to many people. My wife's going to put it to all these women and stuff. Got to look nice. Anyways, we maybe should take off. Anyways. Hi Adonenu, Mareinu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach li'elam bar. Hi Adonenu, Mareinu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach li'elam bar. Ay 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 ay. Yehi Adonenu, Mareinu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach li'elam bar. Ay 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 ay. Yehi Adonenu, Mareinu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach li'elam bar. Ay 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. So who wants to say why they want to bring Mashiach and how they think we should do it? Any volunteers over here?
We gotta.
No. Let's say how we can bring Mashiach. Eklavit Agula Shlema.
Turn it.
על ידי שמחה לקפוץ עם הרגליים ביחד ולהביא את הגאולה בעזרת השם.
Amen.
Mamש.
Hey, you're getting a million notifications now.
Huh?
No,
It's not my phone.
His turn. Your turn.
No.
Whose phone is this?
Chaim's, no?
It's like a million hearts flying around.
How are we going to bring Mashiach? No, how do we bring Gula Shlema?
So how are we gonna bring Mashiach? Let's say.
Everybody say something, no?
במצוות ומעשים טובים, והפצת היהדות.
Say English if you can. So this is English speaking.
By doing mitzvahs and good deeds, and each person do a good deed and helping another Jew is bringing slowly another Jew closer to Judaism. And with that, Mashiach Keinu, Maimish.
Amen. Smiling like you're smiling. The smile brings a lot. Be happy and smile. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, I think the best way to bring Mashiach is simple and simple only. Stop judging. Next.
I've done everything I can. Now it's up to you.
Ask Menachem Mendel.
Menachem, you're cool.
You have an idea.
Come
How
on.
can we bring Mashiach?
He'll just be Menachem. He's so sweet and beautiful. He's such a nice guy here. Just looking at him, you bring Mashiach.
You have an idea, some kind of idea. Yeah.
Come on, look at the smile you
Am I
got.
going to Shalom Zomers?
You look at him. You look at him, and you see sweetness.
Can we bring Mashiach by misameching, making people happy? No.
Speak up a little.
I don't know.
This is for the world. You're on your debut. You know.
Yeah.
You're on Oprah.
The debut for the world over here.
Make a bracha.
I don't know.
Just say joy.
That's just to make a
Say
bracha.
good,
You
say
make
good.
another bracha.
This guy, whatever he does, he's bringing Mashiach.
Bring Mashiach.
No question.
Whatever you do,
His
whatever
being
you
is his
do.
being. I look at you and I see Mashiach.
Just
Your being is his
Just do
Mashiach.
it. Just do it.
Let's do it.
You know, I was in yeshiva in Israel. It's a Baal Tshuva yeshiva for Israelis, and these guys are like that come not religious background. They're just amazing people, and I just sit with them, and they have this smile that comes out of them, this godliness. They just walk around this smile. That's an amazing thing.
be more.
So a friend of mine was recently telling me, it's for bring a little bit.
Johnny,
Last night I was at a for bring. I was in Baitzok. I have a friend of mine, Yaakov, and he was telling me he's very learned. All he does is speaks Hasidus. He's mamish from another world. So he's telling me it says that when about tshuva, listen to this guy about tshuva. How does he make everything turn? Everything he did turn to merits. He says when a shiva make Hashem becomes Elokecha. There are different levels of godliness. There's the way how God becomes in this world, the way how God is totally beyond this world. So when God totally beyond this is above time and space, it's above everything. Leventhal, is it the answer or decline? Huh? So, but the above space, it's a Shem Habai, the name of God, is above time. So it said this.
Can you call him now? Is there no room?
Did we cut off the other guys?
No.
So yeah, so it says there's always, it says in is it still on?
Is it on your face?
I don't see my face.
See your face?
There I am.
Where are you? Here I am.
So in other words, there's different levels of godliness. There's one level of godliness is that's totally beyond space, totally beyond time. Shem Havaya. So it's when you get into God, and this level becomes your God. So this level becomes your God. So therefore it says that's then your God. So in other words, your God, when it's Elokecha, your God, that's like when you sin, He's your God. But when you reach a level that Hashem, which is above time, is your God, so therefore everything, you can change everything. Another thing that I
You're in Oman.
Juman, he's in Juman.
this sounds like a good conversation. You want to put on speakerphone here?
Yeah.
You put on speakerphone. We're on TikTok.
Hola,
We're
chicos.
around the whole world over here.
What they do?
I don't know, maybe it didn't sound like it should be for the world. Anyways. So it's a very interesting thing, and it says when God chose us, when we say Shema, talking about unity of Hashem. Hey, turn it up because I want to talk something about. I can't hear. They can't hear, so turn it down. Can you hear? You can't hear. Okay, so anyway, so as I realized, and when one of the things it talks about in Chassidus, that when God chose us, that when you choose something, we're His chosen people, means He wants us. It says true free choice means that's what you want. You don't want for no reason. That's me. That's what I want. Not because it's better or sweeter. That's what I want. That's true free choice. So it says, we see that then when Hashem, when we talk and when we're praying in the heights of prayer, first we're praying about how God created all these angels, how wonderful the world is, and you work on creation, and you see how God, beautiful, created the world, and it's perfect and beautiful and beyond belief. It's wow. But then it says, then in the next bracha, we talk about how God wanted us. He didn't want all of this. He wants us. He decided, you're what I want. All of this is wonderful, but it's nothing compared to you. You are what I want. So then it says when we say Shema, so what are we saying when we're saying Shema? What's it mean God chose us? What do you mean you chose? God chose us. God chose us to put Himself into us, that we're part of God. God chose us to make the world His godly place, to make a world beyond, much better than how God did it initially. That means we are part of God. So when you think about that, and you think about the whole world that God chose us, you realize how special we are. And when you realize how special we are, then you realize that we can do a lot of special stuff, and we can be special people, and we can love each other more specially, and we can make the world a more special place. Because it's not a thing that we're special because I'm smart or I'm great. It's special because we're part of God. God is shining Himself through us. This is what we have to think about. That we have to do in our lives. We have to think about this in our prayers, that God chose us. I mean, you look at the beautiful world God made, and God says we're more beautiful and more special than anything and everything else. And He gave this into us. Therefore, we have to realize that we have to be happy, and that it should bring us great joy. There's another, I don't know, another prayer that we have that we say
wow,
right
that's such a
before
beautiful
Aderes
Kabbalah.
Ramuna L'Chaye Lomi Bina Baracha L'Chaye Lomi Agavadula L'Chaye Lomi Diba Diba L'Chaye Lomi. This niggin, the Rebbe said this niggin on Simchas Torah.
Amen.
And it's, when you look at the words, what it means, I was learning in Chassidus, and the way I understand it, it says that when God created the world, that's not what's known that in God Himself, that's called the Esser Spheres of Genuzos, that the hidden spheres, the hidden way, God before He creates it, the hidden. It's like they talk about in Chassidus. There's talk about something sheyesh b'metzias, something that exists. Like you have coals, and in the coals they're covered over with coal dust, ashes, and the ashes that are covered over the coals. But in the inner part of the coal, there's still a fire. So when you blow the fire, you bring that out. That's called it exists. Then there's a level that's called she'enumutz. It doesn't exist. That means a flintstone. That the flintstone, when you have a flintstone, that the fire doesn't even exist in it. It's called Devaru. So it's a similar thing. At this level, Hashem says He doesn't really exist, and He says Hashem made it in a way that when we call to Him, He calls back to us. Like it says, when you see somebody across the street, and before you call to Him, it doesn't exist, but when you call to Him, He calls back to you. So that's what we're doing. We're calling. When you look, and you look, there's the Muna, look at the translation. We have the translation with me, talking about these wonderful characteristics of God. And we're calling L'Chayolimi, the God of the creator of everything. We're calling to God so He should bring these to us. That's another thought I have. Anybody want to share anything else? Anybody besides me?
Say that this year's a Hakel year. The whole idea of Hakel is that you have to make massive gatherings.
Get down.
And the original Hakel was that we would all go to Yerushalayim, everyone, not just the regular. That usually it would just be that the men would go 3 times a year, and now it would be the men, the woman, the children, and everyone would go to see the king read from the Torah, and would instill fear in everyone, and make everyone get close to Hashem and Torah and mitzvahs.
So do you feel that now? Do you
So
feel
this
that
year we have to make events of Hakel and get-togethers, and
you feel it here, though. Don't you see it here?
we have to get more than 10 unity, massive amounts.
No,
like
I'm
there's gonna be
saying, but tell me
tomorrow.
what you see all around already this year. I mean, you're from here, no?
Yeah,
you live
exactly.
here.
Look how big, how many people came here this year, exactly.
And the feeling of it, it's
And
amazing.
tomorrow's going to be massive, and tomorrow you're going to really feel it, and tonight, and before tomorrow
You
with
feel
Mashiach,
it.
that's the main thing.
And it's amazing, as I said before, the amazing part is you have so many people, and there's so much love and good feeling to everybody. It's not like, I mean, there is pushing and shoving somewhat, but there's nothing, there's very little negativity. It's amazing. I mean, you be in a place where there's so much pushing and shoving and so much crunching, you think this guy would get mad at that guy, this guy would get mad at that guy.
Don't break the computer.
I mean, it happens a little bit. It's not perfect, but very little. I mean, you realize people, there's so much joy and love with everybody here. It's an amazing thing. If anybody can come before by soon and be here, you'll see something you'll never experience in your life. Well, we will experience more very soon. We'll experience very soon more than that, because we're going to experience the final redemption very
The
shortly.
real Hakel.
So, but
Rebbe, Melech, and Mashiach.
Put it like this.
so anyways, how are we doing? Should we continue, guys? We have enough? I don't know. I'm running out of things to
Oh
do.
yeah, that's enough.
Huh?
Thank everybody for logging in. You have 65 people watching. Wait, continue.
So I should continue? Okay.
People love it.
Okay.
There's too many people watching.
65. Okay.
65 people.
Huh?
Wow. That's 6.5 million.
6.5 million. So what else? What can we see?
Put your hand down.
Put it on me. Did I ask you?
Paige.
Go over there and get a cookie.
Put it on you. Well, what are you going to see? Now, what are you going to tell us about Mashiach? You have to tell us something. I want to hear something smart and nice.
Oh, you're gonna do something
You have to
amazing.
tell
I chose
something.
it on you.
Huh? What are you going to tell us? No?
What's the thing? Go tell us
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
We've never had before.
yeah, 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 yeah. Ah, da, da, yeah, 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 da, da, ah, yeah, 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 da, da. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. V'samachta b'chagecha v'hayisak sameya. V'samachta b'chagecha v'hayisak sameya. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, not this one. This one's going. Yeah. I know, 65. Yeah. Yeah. V'samachta b'chagecha v'hayisak sameach. It's not connected. Anyway, I think we're gonna. No, please. Play someplace else. Going in here. My wife wants it. Your wife's gonna play this. You have to smile when you go there, you know. Sing. We say, we want. God, tell us a nice story. You have a nice story to tell us? Anybody has a nice story about Mashiach?
I want to do the motions that Mayor Tufton said.
No, is it serious? A good story?
Yeah. No.
What's this mean?
I don't want to say it.
Well, we don't want you to do it if you don't want to say it.
No, but everyone knows about it.
I don't. They don't know.
Yes, they do know.
No, they don't. Why do you want Mashiach? Tell us why you want Mashiach to come now. Tell us why you want Mashiach. Why do you want Mashiach?
To get a mansion.
There'll be no more homework?
No, so I could get a mansion.
So you can get a mansion. Why do you want Mashiach?
Get your nails
So I
done.
could get my wand.
You can get your wand?
Magic
Wand.
What's your wand going to do when you get your wand? And why do you want Mashiach?
Peggy, what do you want, Monsieur?
Eating a cookie.
You want to eat Mashiach for eating a cookie?
No.
No.
I'm eating a
Oh, you're
cookie.
eating? Okay.
Sure.
If you can't talk. Okay, we got to wait till she finishes eating a cookie. Then she's going to tell us why she wants Mashiach. No. Okay.
Luma wants a magic wand. Luma,
So I'll explain some other neat things that's amazing right now.
Okay, now I can talk.
Okay. So tell us something serious.
See Adam and Chava.
So what?
See Adam and Chava.
Yeah. So what's going to see if you're going to see Adam and Eve? What's going to happen?
I'm gonna tell. I could go in the past and tell them not to eat from the tree.
Then we wouldn't have this wonderful ghost, right? So that's a good. But the reason it says the reason we ate from the tree because Hashem made it to eat from the tree, so we should reach a higher level. It says really that the reason that we did was this. That the reason that Hashem made us sin is that we should reach a more deeper, higher level. And we should be going enough. You're gonna have to go out soon.
Luma, don't do that.
There's all kinds of people.
You have to behave.
So-
When you're on the video, not nice.
Because it's on here. See, it's on here. Look.
Yeah. Can I see?
You guys, be careful with the computer. Don't jump over there.
Okay. So, anyways,
Masiki.
so there are many people. There's a very special time right now. That one of the things that the Rebbe explains, Parshas Bo, one of the reasons that we say we don't. One of the reasons we say that the Rebbe's really here is from the words from the Rebbe. No, we're playing. People are watching all over. It's not to play games right
There's a lot
now.
of people watching this video.
Not to play games right now. So,
So we're gonna have to ask the Kimberlach to go inside if you're not gonna be here.
you can't, guys. We're talking to a lot of
Go
people.
sit over here,
You
please.
have to go in there. Go.
Yeah, but I'm getting
Give
popcorn.
me 3 seconds to come sit here, or you going out this way?
I'm getting popcorn.
Okay, so go.
I want down to.
So the Rebbe made many new revelations. The Rebbe talked all about how we're times of Mashiach and what that means. So one of the Simchas, which is an amazing Simcha, it's the Rebbe explains that the level that we reach nowadays. It says when Moshe Rabbeinu left Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu, his whole job was to take the Jews and to bring the Jews to receive, like we talked about on Mount Sinai. That's like the beginning of the revelation of Mashiach. So it said one of his missions was he had to prepare the Jews to receive it, and he had to also be in such a level that he could receive these these high revelations before he could give them over. So it's in that one of the parshas, it says bo al paro. It says come to paro. So what's it mean bo al paro? And in Hebrew, it usually should say lech la paro. It should say go to paro. Hashem says go to Pharaoh and tell him to do this. Why does it say come to Pharaoh? So it says, and Moshe Rabbeinu says that he was afraid. It says in the Zohar, we're really taking Torah now, so we can't have this. We can't have this stuff. So
I'm gonna get so-so.
Not that much.
I'm getting so-so.
Inside the house, you get close. Or in the house. Not next to him, please.
Okay.
Take your coat.
So it says bo al paro. So the Rebbe explains what's he talking about. It says come to paro. So it said Moshe Rabbeinu when Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem wanted him to break this great evil in order for Hashem to take the Jews out of the evilness of Egypt. He had to break the evil. Yeah. So he said Moshe Rabbeinu had to fight with the power of the evil. In the Zohar it says the great serpent. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm not strong enough to fight the great serpent. He's too much. He's too powerful. The evil is too much for me. So Hashem says, bo al paro, come. I will go with you and I will fight this evil. And I will, because it says in the house of the great serpent, it was too much for Moshe Rabbeinu to be like in the place where the evil comes out, like in the rivers and the streams. It says that would be a, he could deal with. It's not the source of the evil. If being the source of the evil itself, Moshe Rabbeinu says, I can't do this. It's impossible. I can't do this. Hashem says, come. I will come with you. I will come and fight for you. So the Rebbe says, okay, that's fine and good, because we know that in order for Moshe Rabbeinu, for Moses to fill his purpose, his messenger, his shlichus in the world, he had to break this evil, and that was necessary to bring the Jews to what he's supposed to bring us to bring to our Sinai to receive the Torah, Mount Sinai to receive the Torah from God. But the Rebbe always mentions that the Torah is something for every time and every place. So therefore, we understand that the evil is broken, but what's it do to today? This is not amazing. This one is amazing. Very amazing asicha from the Rebbe. I've listened to this, amazing. So the Rebbe says, he says in Kedusha, just like in evil, on the other side, what's the house of power in Kedusha? It says it's God's house. You familiar with the sikha? Parshas Bo. Parshas Tavshin Beis. Okay, so it says Bo al paro. So why say Bo al paro, not Lech la paro? Because Hashem Mar Paro, Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid to go to Paro, because they went to Paro. He said Paro, the klipa was too great. So therefore Hashem's I'll come with me, I'll fight it. And then the Rebbe writer says, so what's the relevant today? Because it's once you already broke the klipa, we don't have to break it again. So it says in the Zohar, it's an amazing verse. That's why he explains it. One of the reasons why you say the Rebbe's Chaim Kayam still. That he explains that in everything in unholiness has a source of holiness. So what's the house of power and holiness? Mm-hmm. It's God's house. And what happens in God's house? He says all the lights are revealed, even the hidden lights, and they're real. The isprus are bursting forward, I think, like an atomic bomb. Generally, it says, especially now with lights and lasers and everything has to be according to what is needed, according to the vessel. The whole idea from light is to reveal something, so it has to be according to what it's supposed to reveal. If this light,
back off, not sneeze.
Hey, but you got to be quiet though. We're in the middle of saying something. Be quiet. So.
No.
Here you go. Here you go. No touch it. No touch it. Here you go.
So anyway, so it says over there. So in God, so Moshe Rabbeinu says, I can't see godliness, this level of godliness, and stay alive. So Hashem says, I'll come with you, Bo Aparo. So and therefore he saw God. He saw the essence of God in God's house. So the Rebbe says the Frierdiker Rebbe.
Don't put it on the stove.
She's
Chaim.
not it on you.
Chaim.
No, above the
You guys got to keep it down low. So
finish this, finish
the kids are just yelling a little. You got to make sure. I'm trying to explain something. So Bo Up. So it says Bo Up. So when Moshe Rabbeinu it says, so it's Bo Aparo. So I said, I lost my train of thought. So the Rebbe says when a tzaddik passes, when the Frierdiker Rebbe passes away on the days of his yard site, he sees himself of godliness. He's mamish one with God. It says when a tzaddik passes away, the reason that tzaddik passes away is in order to give salvation in the world. A tzaddik, his main thing it explains in Tanya, his main thing in Tanya explains his main purpose in the world is to give forth godliness. His main attributes of a tzaddik is his love and fear of God and his faith in Hashem, faith in God. So when he goes up, since the world's not totally refined, so when he goes up above, he reaches a higher level, and this higher level he receives from God even more godliness. He's able to give this down to his students and his disciples down below. That's why it says that a tzaddik causes salvation in the world. But the Rebbe says the Frierdiker Rebbe was the last one who had to do it because everything was refined, and his successor doesn't have to die anymore. So the Frierdiker, he says, therefore the Rebbe started talking about at that point that you can live forever. So the question is, even though we see there was a burial in this, how can you say that the Rebbe's really here? This is a real question, Well, first of all, it makes sense for what the Rebbe says. Second of all, if we really look at it, there are many people who've seen the Rebbe, not everybody, and that the Rebbe is more here than ever before. I was, actually this is in Simchas, several years ago, I realized that one of the biggest miracles. What's happening?
No, just see all
that one of the biggest miracles that we have in this world. If you go any place in the world who know about the Rebbe, they'll tell you he's helping me now. Never before in the world has this ever happened. I talk to people, they say they feel the Rebbe in their sides, that the Rebbe is part of them. They never even saw the Rebbe. You see, most of the Hasidim by the Rebbe nowadays never saw the Rebbe, but they feel the Rebbe is part of them. So that's one thing. We really know the Rebbe's here. I talk with people all the time. So I was, it was Simchas. I was doing, we have the Rebbe tells us we should go in and do the mitzvah of Simchas, take the lulav and the esrog and shake it with people. So I was on my way to shul. This was about 6-7 years ago. And at that point I realized, it came to the revelation that this is the biggest miracle that the Rebbe's every place, that he's helping everybody in the whole world. So it's never happened before, something like this. So I'm walking down the street, so I meet a guy, and I tell him, you know what the biggest miracle is? I just talk to people like this. I meet people. I say, you know what's the biggest miracle? I told them what's the biggest miracle is there's one man in the world, and this man in the world that he's helping everybody. And if you any place in the world, I'll tell you this man is something else, the Rebbe. The guy's eyes, you ever heard the guy's open, his eyes opened up, his eyes lit up. His eyes went like, the only time I've seen that in my life, his eyes lit up like this, and he says, you're right. And it ends up the guy is a professor of philosophy, teaches at one of the University of California as a doctor of philosophy. So he told me philosophy is up here and Judaism is down here. I said, no, Judaism is up there and way down there. He says, you're right. And then he tells me that when he's a child, he saw the Rebbe like for a few minutes. Like the Rebbe looked straight through him. So later on, a couple of days later, I was shaking lulav in Esrog, and I meet a guy, it's a drugstore in L.A., but in Pico Robinson, those Walgreens. So he come out of Walgreens, he had, a cap on, and, I told him, the biggest miracle. I start talking to him. Ends up he was recovering drug addict, and he told me he was working at a local restaurant there. The guy hires a lot of recovering drug addicts, and he said in a month he's going to be out of his sober living and is going to work in computers. There's a computer group in L.A., outside L.A., have 30 people. Lubavitchers, a couple of hundred. I don't know much about it, but a lot of people.
That tzaddik is a righteous man.
So So he shows me his arms, and he shows me they have all these back holes. I said, how you do it? He says, God, he tells me. So he says he's waiting for a friend. So I'm waiting with him. This guy comes up on his little motor scooter or cycle, looks about 45 or 50. And right away, because the guy's in a hurry, so he says, you know what the biggest miracle is? There's one end helping everybody, and tells the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He looks at me, he tells me, you're right. He says, after Gimel Thomas, the Rebbe came to me in a dream and saved my life. And I just talked to so many people how much Rebbe came in their dreams, or Rebbe did this, Rebbe did that. I'll tell you, a few more Rebbe stories. As I say, I give out Rebbe water. We've got to figure out how to market it so everybody can get it. But this is like in the late 90s. So I had a friend of mine who was in the process of returning, coming back to God, David Lahiji. And so I at that time I just got some Rebbe water and I gave him a drink. And he has a dream the next night. And I want to fast forward a little bit. It was like the late 90s. About 5 years ago, a friend of mine asked me to speak, which usually I don't often speak in front of a shul. I never spoke out in honor of his father's yard site. I don't think we're going to see anything here.
Can you turn on the light, please?
I didn't touch the light.
Don't turn it on. Stop playing games.
Anyways,
Wait, guys.
Wait.
So cool.
anyways, we got to get some light. Anyways,
Right,
we
so
can
cool.
we can audio for a few minutes.
Oh,
As we see that this is the kids' interventions over here. So anyways, okay. You guys, I'm supposed to be for bringing and helping people out.
And I'm trying to give light.
That's not enough
She's
light.
bringing a higher light
She's
above your
bringing
head.
higher light.
Even higher than your whole head.
So anyways, enough with it. So anyways, the person he told me when he came to see me, he says this dream. Enough with that. I'm trying to say. He says this dream I had. He said it's more with me today than ever before. And it says, and when I remember what I was doing is I was styling Israel. I was the person himself. I can't. Please take that out. That's
Why?
because I'm giving a class and it's disturbing.
It's actually giving light.
Please. Thank you. So, anyways, so the guy, so he tells me, please.
No, don't do that. Go inside and do it.
I'll go after.
So he tells me that what happened is he used to be on psych medications for a couple of years, and he couldn't, and he went all of it. He was going nuts with it. He went all the medications, and he couldn't sleep. It was impossible for him to sleep. So the Rebbe, I'll tell you the dream, but he says this is like 20 years later. He says the dream was more with him than ever before. So the Rebbe comes to him a dream, and the Rebbe takes him puts his hand on his forehead. He totally calms down, and then he puts him to bed. He puts him down. He lies down in bed, and he said he slept like never slept before. Now this cured him of his anxiety. So I was an amazing guy. I told another story I had with him is he was a person who was, he was always when he was doing tshuva, he always was worried that he wasn't doing altruistic. He was doing tshuva for he had his own reasons. He wasn't really sincere. That bothered him. It really super bothered him. So he was very upset. So he put himself in a 72-hour hold in a psych ward. And so I wrote into the Rebbe for bracha for him. Chaim, this is a good story. Chaim. Good story. So this guy put in the guy was doing tshuva, but he always felt that he didn't do it sincerely. He wasn't altruistic. So he bought him so much, he felt like killing himself. So he put himself in a 72-hour hold, and he was in this hold, and he's convincing policemen and everybody they should kill themselves. I wrote into the Rebbe as soon as he went in. He walked out of the place, and he said he realized that he could do things altruistically, just for Hashem. And that cured him. And there's another time David Lehichi told me, an amazing guy. He told me once he was sitting in synagogue, and the guy is singing with chazanis, and he's getting jealous of, look how nice he sings. And then he starts smiling and saying, look how beautiful I sing, because he feels he was one with them. Anyway, I think ready to go, guys. Have a great Yom Tov. Mr. Hashem, we'll see you on the base of Migdash. Thank you for spending time with us and helping to bring Gula Shleima. This is all doing wonderful things for everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. How many people we got today?
A lot of people left when you closed the lights.
How many people are watching?
Okay, guys, good enough. Come. We usually do every Wednesday night with Rabbi Rao.
Mr. Hashem.
I go live once in a while. And have a good Sukkot, guys. And don't forget, Sunday night is Shmini Atzeres. Monday night is Simchas Torah when we celebrate with the Torah. Come to your local synagogue. It's the best day of the year. There's no party like Simchas Torah party.
Did you get any likes?
1,971.
What?
And 11,000 likes.
What are you talking about? How many people are watching live?
Right, the last second?
Yeah.
20 people. Everybody left when we turned off the lights.
I told you should not turn off the lights. She was getting the crowd.
Like
The rating
annoyed.
was going up when she was doing the upper lights.
It's your fault.
You okay? What was the statistics? You didn't do all the likes this time. He's pressing likes.
How many
I didn't do
people?
anything.
How many people?
Got 11,000 likes.
Not good?
That's a lot of likes.
How many people were watching when Hannah was doing the light thing?
65 people.
No. How in the beginning?
How many of us watched the whole thing? Most of it?
Well, you got new followers because of you.
Yeah?
A bunch of new followers.
They liked it, people?
That's good when you get new followers.
I got new followers
Somebody-
when
somebody
I got
gave-
the most followers when I did the light thing.
We got $3.60
Nice.
donations.
Hanapil, can you use can you borrow your light bulbs to do the dancing?
I'll show you.
I got donations and keep donations coming. That like Jem does. Everything's donations. You see their videos?
Can
What
I
they
borrow
do
your
now?
sassy for the dancing?
Yeah, you want it? But I licked it.
Huh?
You still want it if I licked it?
I'm not gonna put it in my mouth. I'm just gonna.
What you lick?
We got 45 new followers.
Yeah?
You know what to do? I'm gonna clean it with my own
45
spit.
people
I'm
want
gonna
to
spit
join
on it
the
and
channel
lick it myself.
because of your share.
Not good?
Then I don't want to give it to you.
How many you have joining in altogether?
But
Today, 45 people
you can
joined
use
because of the share.
this.
That's not good?
Wow.
I don't know anything about this stuff.
You
Like-
get 45 people who want to hear the share again?
That's pretty good, actually, yeah.
That means
It's
they
kind
want to come
of
back
that
again.
she
They
doesn't
want
want
to-
anyone using it anymore.
Hmm?
Doesn't want anyone using it.
It's not like the 7,000, but we have many people left. How many people watching?
How many use it?
We had
Yeah.
Almost 2,000
Oh,
people
oh,
watch.
I want to
They
go
watch for,
dancing.
how many people watch for a long time?
With
The
one
whole time,
jump
about
and
a few hundred. Well, we saw at the end we only had 65.
Yeah, but how many did Muslim guys
Can I
watch?
take a video of
We
you
had like
doing it?
100 at a time. Hello?
Oh, you said I should take a
We
video.
always had 100 the whole time.
Yeah, anyways,
We're working.
I don't know how
on
to sign at you guys over here.
Come to the share.
All right, participants.
I don't know what happened. What's going on?
And Shachar said you're not interested in working with him. He said you never came.
How do I unmute you guys?
What are you talking about?
He offered you a few jobs with your truck. You didn't want to do it.
That's unmute.
So what?
Anyway, sei gesund, everybody.
What?
So what? You said you want to work with him. I thought.
Hope you all have a great Yom
I'm
Tov.
looking for a truck driver to.
And hope we can also mamish see Gula Shleima right away.
Every day, every morning.
I don't know how this thing works.
Here, close the light.
Sei gesund.
Can I do it
He's doing something exciting over here. No, this I don't want anymore. Just a minute.
Pa, 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 ra, 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 wow, wow.